Okay.
Shanti. So today's meditation session, we would be looking at mastery of the self. So, how we can actually attain self mastery over our thoughts, self mastery over our feelings, self mastery over our emotions. How can we do that? So mastery simply means that to be good at something, to be good at doing something. Let it be my job, which I do at the workplace. How skillful am I at doing my job? How efficiently am I utilizing my work time? Or how efficiently I'm utilizing my 24 hours throughout the day? So, if you look at a dance master or someone who is expert at playing a musical instrument, or let's say, for example, a piano or a violin, so how do they do it? Whatever the skill they do it takes a lot of practice, right? So they would have seen so many failures along the way, but every failure helped them to learn a lesson. Now, even if you take a look at Thomas Alva Edison, I'm pretty sure you must all be knowing about the story of his invention of the light. So he made almost like 1,000 unsuccessful attempts in the invention of the bulb. But still, what was that which was motivating him to hang on to his experiment, right? So it is his willpower, it is his determination. So, similarly, in the world of spirituality, to be a master of self means to be a master of my mind, to be a master of my thoughts, to have only those thoughts which I want to have at any given point of time. So, it also means that to be a master of my feelings, what kind of feelings I want to have at a given time. So, I can have only those feelings. And to be a master of my emotions. So, to attain this level of mastery, there are certain steps that need to be followed. So, in today's meditation, we will take a closer look at the steps and see in what ways can we attain this self mastery. Because once we master our mind, once we master our thoughts, we can almost master any art. So, it all starts with the inner world and then it reflects in the outer world. So we will now begin our session. So sit straight. You can keep your feet on the floor or however you like, if that's okay for you. And let me spend the next few moments to step back from the world outside. And we start by taking deep breaths. Inhale, breathe in nicely and deeply, and exhale. Breathe out. Again, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Now let us spend these next few moments to step back from the world outside, from the world of sound, and from the world of doing, and let's come into the world inside us. That's the world of my thoughts, my feelings, and my experiences. This is my inner world. And the good part is The world that is inside is totally in my own hands. So I come to the awareness of the true self. I, the eternal point of the living light, I see myself on my golden throne of the center of forehead, right in the middle of forehead, between the two eyes. That's my golden throne of the soul. And I, the master, I sit there and I control this body. I see myself sitting on this awareness of being a peaceful soul. I, the soul, am a being of peace. I now take few moments to practice being a master of the self. And the very first step a master would do is to avoid the mistakes. That I do often on a regular basis. So look at your life. What are some mistakes which I do on a regular basis? And usually, when I do a mistake, there is some internal guilt. For example, every day I plan to do something by a certain time, maybe going to bed every day at the same time. But through the week, I'm able to achieve this most of the times, and sometimes not. And when I'm not able to achieve this, there is internal guilt. And that's one of the source of waste thoughts. So, as a master, I want to avoid doing these repetitive mistakes as a master of self. And this is just an example. You can look at your life and bring your own example. Because to be a master is to live an elevated life. So we want to closely check and observe in our scenes of life what are certain patterns which often get converted to mistakes. So we want to weed out any possibilities that could result into guilt. Because if I keep repeating these mistakes, that will drain the energy of the soul. So the key here is to check myself carefully, observe myself carefully, observe what kind of thoughts lead into this mistake. And the second step is to realize that sometimes we don't want to repeat these mistakes, but still, out of the habit, we tend to do them. Again, I will give an example, but you can pick your own example. Let's say I have 10 minutes to complete a task. Although I can complete the task in 5 minutes, I still have this habit or tendency to expand the work until 10 minutes. So this is a repetitive habit, and this habit often makes me lose my time. And this is just one example. But as you do this practice of checking yourself thoroughly, checking what are those repetitive patterns or the mistakes, and find out what are the underlying habits that result to these mistakes, you can train your mind. So take few moments to train your mind to simulate the same situations. Whatever is that you are struggling with to change, you want to create your own examinations. Own examinations and deadlines, so that when a big situation comes, you can cross it with ease. And that's self-mastery. The more I practice, the more I take my self-examinations, and the more I pass in those examinations, the more I can master myself. It is only after the thorough testing I can say that I'm a master of something. So another example, let's say I want to be the master of the virtue of patience. So I should have played with this virtue well enough in the scenes of my life. And if I think I'm lacking this virtue, I can always connect with the Supreme Being, who is ocean of all the virtues. And with just a single thought, I can attain the powers needed. And the key here is to bring this virtue into action. For example, I can practice being to remain patient with the traffic on the road. And this is a small situation, but it can still help me to cultivate that virtue. I can practice patience with the people standing in a line at the grocery store, for example. And by generously asking them to go first. Or I could also yield for pedestrians, other drivers. And sometimes even with electronics, especially when the internet is slow or when something takes too much time to load, I can be very creative in the way I want to bring this virtue to practice. And because I'm practicing this virtue, I'm becoming a master of this virtue. And once I practice this enough in n different ways, tomorrow I can easily deal with a big situation that needs a lot of patience. And similarly, reflect what are the virtues that you need most in your life. Is it patience? Is it love? Is it friendship? What is that you need most? And bring it into action in your own creative ways. So this repeated practice of understanding and observing my own defects or mistakes and making sure not to repeat them. This coupled with the practice of taking my own self-examinations and becoming stronger at my own virtues will make me a spiritual master, a master of my own self. And this week, spot one habit you want to change and create your own timelines or own examinations that you want to pass again and again to be a master of the self. And definitely, connecting with the Supreme Being is crucial. The more I connect with this being, the more my practice becomes easier. Because Supreme Being is the ocean of all the virtues. He is like the treasure house. So I take a moment in silence now and just deeply reflect, what are these virtues that I want to practice in this week, and how I want to examine myself. Just take this few minutes for your own self care. Now that you have decided onto a virtue or any habit that you would like to change, just be diligent throughout the week to take time for yourself for self evaluation, and then see that your graph of self mastery keeps increasing every day. Om Shanti. I am peace.